Strong signs he's serious about you and he's committed to you. We're going to dive into this today. Over the years, I've shot dozens of videos proclaiming that men are rather clueless these days. And while it's somewhat factual, here's why. You see, most human beings believe that chemistry equals relationship success without really giving thought to true compatibility. What is true compatibility? Well, for those of us in midlife, it's rather different because if you're in your 20s and 30s, oftentimes, if you're seeking a fully committed relationship with someone, it's to make babies and raise a family. But for those of us, it's a little bit different in midlife, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s or 70s, because you come to the table with a fully curated life. You've developed values that are very important to you. You have a succinct lifestyle that you've developed. And because of that, a lot of people don't understand compatibility is really about, do we share most of the same values? And I'm not talking about values like honesty, integrity, or trust. I'm talking about, hey, do we share the same ideology when it comes to human rights? Do we share the same ideology when it comes to health, to charity, to the variety of different values out there, your value regarding generosity, as an example, just to name a few. So it's good to get a sense of what your core values are before you begin engaging in a relationship. Now, this isn't an absolute, but I will say if you look at your political point of views, that probably gives you some insight into your values. If you look at your religious or spiritual point of views, that gives you some insight into your values. And people who are aligned in values actually have an easier time being compatible with one another. That's not to say you need every single value aligned. But again, we've been indoctrinated in believing that chemistry equals relationship success. And if you kind of reverse engineer what causes most relationship endings, it's for a few reasons I'm about to share with you today, as we just mentioned values. But in particular, lifestyle compatibility. You know, as I said earlier, most of us have fully curated lives, and to actually blend it with one another can be problematic, can be very problematic. And oftentimes there's this grand expectation that women are supposed to submit to men, women are supposed to change their entire life for men. And because of that, there can be problems within that. Particularly, it's not anyone's responsibility to give up their sovereignty for another person, but certainly this capacity to blend lives really plays a factor if someone's going to be serious with you and if they're going to commit to you. But let me just tell you the plague that ruins most relationships, and that is most couples have poor relationship skills. They have poor communication skills, but more importantly, they have poor conflict resolution skills. I can tell you that most relationships suffer because they're operating from the premise, I'm right and you're wrong. Or let me do this. I'm right and you're wrong kind of thing. And if we can't fundamentally learn to agree to disagree, but more importantly, resolve conflicts in a healthy, emotionally regulated place, it's going to be problematic. So in a moment, I'm going to share with you some strong signs he's serious about you and committed to you. But let's just point out some of the ones that are so obvious that he isn't serious about you and that he won't be committed to you. Now, the most obvious sign is he's just not that into you. Now, certainly after meeting, this can be very tricky because what drives us, remember I said earlier that chemistry can drive the bus. Oftentimes it's lust or limerence. Now, we all know what lust is, but do you know what limerence is? Limerence is extreme infatuation. What happens is chemicals are released from our brain into our body that can make us very infatuated with a person. Or what can oftentimes happen is an unconscious or a subconscious trigger from our childhood that tells us almost immediately that this person is familiar to us. And for you, if you want to understand what I'm talking about, you're going to want to learn about the imago and attachment styles. So if you haven't read the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, I highly recommend checking it out. But more importantly, check out the book Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendricks and Helen Hunt. Okay. By the way, all the books I recommend today are listed below because you oftentimes attach to another person based on something that's familiar to our childhood. So this is driving the bus in the early stages, and we don't know whether or not we're meeting the true person or the ambassador of their best self. So as I said, one of the signs is they're just not that into you. After meeting, they become flaky. They become flaky. Now, I know that's obvious, right? Their actions don't match their words after a period of time. But this is why it behooves us to take time to get to know someone, to build trust with someone over a period of time, instead of the current narrative of having sex by the third date. Hey, it's just a suggestion. You've got to decide what's right for you. Now, is he or she capable of being in a relationship? Is he or she capable of being in a relationship? If someone's life is in chaos, if they're broken, if you become their therapist, that's a strong sign that they may not be capable of actually leaning into a serious relationship to build the deep roots of trust. Having a stable life really plays an important role. As I said earlier, lifestyle compatibility, but just simply having a stable life. Listen, we can all have problems. We can go through periods of time where we're having some ups and downs. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody who is in the moment of serious crisis, and they're seeking a relationship just to give them some relief from that. And sadly, most relationships today have turned into a pseudo therapist. In fact, the whole dating process today is so built on building artificial intimacy with someone that someone actually becomes their de facto therapist, because they're sharing a lot of their pain and trauma. And to women, this could be new music to a woman's ears because it sounds like vulnerability. Oh my God, he's being so vulnerable with me. He's sharing all of his problems. He's sharing his insecurities. He's telling me all about his cruel, mean ex-wife who was an alcoholic, and she was a narcissist, and she was trying to take away the children from him. And he's just such an angel. Have you ever experienced that, ladies? Have you ever experienced a guy like that? His ex-wife was cruel, an alcoholic, a narcissist. I mean, tried to take away the children, and he's just this perfect angel, and you see him as this perfect angel. You know what oftentimes happens with that guy? When that relationship ends, guess what happens? You turned out to be the bad guy or the bad person, just like his ex-wife was. So again, if they are emotionally broken, if they're in chaos, I would walk in very gingerly with that person, and I wouldn't give your heart to someone who hasn't shored up their emotional side. In fact, if you haven't read the book, The Hoffman Process, this is a deep dive into healing your own childhood wounds and adult traumas where you might have negative patterns and limiting beliefs in your life. And I highly recommend reading this book as a way to shore up your own sovereignty, your own self-worth, so you don't find yourself where a man is looking at you in that capacity of chaos and brokenness and therapy. Please forgive me. Now, I just talked about he has issues. He has childhood wounds and unresolved adult traumas. You have to pay attention to this. In fact, right here's a link to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. My whole area of expertise of coaching is discernment. And actually, when you practice genuine discernment, you tend to metabolize this in a way that allows your intuition to do the deeper work for you. And I'm sure you'd all like to actually follow your intuition. And surprisingly, our ego can get in the way of this because we have this insidious way of not looking out for the best of us, looking out for what's best for us. We chase pleasure. I just said something. We chase pleasure. You know, today's dating environment is so hyper-focused on attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. It's all about the pleasurable things. Why do they call it the honeymoon period? It's because it's all focused on pleasure. And somehow, if we deeply root in this pleasure, we'll navigate the more challenging aspects of life. And sadly, looking at the divorce rate of second and third marriages, that isn't the case. So, what's some strong signs that he's serious about and committed to you? I think the first one, and again, these will all seem obvious, but I really am encouraging you to lean into this, to pay attention. But does he make you a priority in his life? And this is outside of once you guys have physical intimacy. Does he actually make you a priority in his life, or does he become to be rather flaky? Does he become rather flaky? I know we talked about that sign earlier. But a man who's genuinely serious about you will begin to move you up in status of importance in his life. That's not to suggest that we should abandon those other facets of importance. I know many of you ladies watching, you have children. They might be the priority in your life. But I think once you engage in a relationship with someone, we should put them on a level of importance, whether it's a man or woman. Hey, it's 11:11 right now. We should put them levels of importance. And importance means it's a priority when it needs to be a priority. For some people, they put their professional life as a significant priority and everybody's underneath them, or they put their children as a priority and everybody's underneath them. However, whether you're a man or woman, I think our relationship represents importance, and we place people in priority when it's needed. That's just a suggestion. You don't have to adopt that. Now, number two, he's actively tries to help you with your life. He hears you're having trouble with your car. Hey, do you want me to go to the mechanic with you? He knows you've got a trip planned, and he goes, hey, do you want me to take you to the airport instead of catching an Uber? Whether it's a man or woman, you're actively trying to support this person in your life. You're trying to help them. Maybe it's just giving advice. You know, one of the most important facets of a relationship is to be a witness to a person's life, to actually allow them to witness and help you in your life. I think when a relationship, when it comes from a place of genuine care and support, in fact, when you think of the word trust, you know, most people think of trust in the context of fidelity. But I look at trust as, does this person have my best interest at heart? Is their best interest are my best interest? And when you're actively trying to help someone in your life, when someone's doing that for you and you doing that for them, you're building those deep roots of trust. You're building those deep roots of trust. By the way, what does my coffee mug say? Swear a little, you feel better. On my Sunday videos, I don't swear. You know, building those deep roots of trust. You know, one of the ways to get to trust, I think one of the best ways to get to a level of trust with a person is through social activities, hobbies, mutual interest. Hobbies, social activities, hobbies, mutual interest. When you think of the best relationships, do you know what they say they have in common? I'm in relationship with my best friend. We do things together. But Jonathan, I'm in a long distance relationship and all we do is incessantly talk on our phones. We text and text and text. And we have this amazing relationship because all we do is use our thumbs to connect with one another. Folks, you can't really actively be in a person in your life from distance. It is through activities, it is through circumstances, it's through situations that you can actually build the deeper roots of trust, that you can determine, is this person going to be there for me? Because ultimately a serious relationship, well, we're going to get to that in a moment. Okay, number three, he integrates you into his life and he wants to be part of your life. And for the men watching, she integrates you into her life and she wants to be in your life. That is a strong sign when there's an integration into each other's lives. That means including meeting family, meeting friends, being part of the activities as we talked about earlier, to be a support person for one another. This is a strong sign. Actually, when a person gives you a key to their home, I know a lot of people do that early on. That's at least attempting to giving you a parking spot in your parking garage. That's integrating into a person's life. Now, are these absolutes? No, they're not absolutes that these are going to make a relationship work and go the distance. But certainly, these are great signs. Number 4, this is crucially important for the women watching this and for you men watching as well. You men, you believe in an all-in teamwork type of relationship. You believe in an all-in type of relationship. For those that go in cavalierly, casually, uncertain about a serious relationship, it's difficult to actually be motivated because oftentimes you're hoping for magic fairy dust to make you want to go all in. I'm here to say when you operate from a place of, I want to go all in with someone before you ever meet them, you know you want to be a teammate with someone, then you operate differently in the evaluation period of getting to know someone. You know, most men know within 90 days if they want to go all in with somebody. For the most part, doesn't mean they are going to go all in, but they have a sense of this person they want to go all in and be teamwork. And yet there are a lot of broken men I talked about earlier that want companionship, connection, and physical intimacy, but are incapable. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up with one little sign that might give you a clue that he's serious about you. Now, this relates to those of you women out there watching, or you men who happen to have an anxious attachment style and you are with an avoidant, whether you're a man or woman. You have an anxious attachment style and you're with somebody who's an avoidant. Here's a great sign your avoidant actually is serious about you and committed to you. And that is, they actually post a picture of you on their social media. They post a picture of you. Avoidant people try to avoid all representation of being in a serious relationship, so they want to keep things at an arm's length. If an avoidant person, you see, anxious people will post pictures, okay? We want to establish that kind of rootedness, okay? But when an avoidant person posts a picture of you on their social media, that's a really good sign that they're serious about you and most likely committed to you. Hey, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this video. Let me know what you thought about this. If this resonated with you, post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me. There's links to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to follow me on Instagram, to get the books I recommend. Remember, the books I recommend, and to get something known as my dating vows. My dating vows is a great clue to determine, but it's an exercise you do with someone before you're physically intimate to establish some trust, to establish some agreements early on that can possibly avoid a lot of conflict later. So check that out, listed below, dating vows. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathon bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow. Give it or them a hug of love because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.